तस्य जनञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरुवे नमः। श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूप कदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकम्। वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरु श्रीयुतपदकमलं श्रीगुरुं वैष्णवांश्च श्रीरूपं सागरजातं सहगण रघुनाथान्वितं तं सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनसहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेवम् श्रीराधा कृष्ण पदान् सहगण ललिता श्रीविशाखान्वितांश्च नम ॐ विष्णुपादाय कृष्णपृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्त स्वामिन्निति नामिने। नमस्ते सारस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देश तारिणे। हे कृष्णा करुणा सिंधु दीनबंधु जगतपते गोपेश गोपिका कांत राधा कांत नमस्तुते। तप्त कांचन गौरांगी राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये। वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यस्य कृपा सिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद। हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे। हरे कृष्णा. So welcome to the Manah Shiksha series every Friday, Saturday and Sunday morning. Up till now, we have discussed the last of the anurthas which has to be uprooted with his Pratishta Asha. We discussed Bhaktivinoda Thakur's commentary on it. And then we discussed Shivram Swami Maharaj commentary in one class, which was quite brief. Today, we will begin the discussion on the commentary of His Holiness Bhakti Vigyan Goswami Maharaj, which is quite extensive and quite deep. So let us begin with Bhakti Vigyan Goswami Maharaj commentary. So paragraphs 1 to 14, instructions for love of God. It's a very interesting theme. Maharaj is setting the background to discuss about this Pratishta Asha. So let us see what Maharaj has to say. Raghunath Das Goswami is our Prayojan Acharya, the teacher of the ultimate goal of our Sampradaya. Everyone in this world is looking for love, true love. And that true love, the only real object of the true love is Krishna. So Raghunath Das Goswami is our Prayojan Acharya. Prema hai Prayojan. Sambandha Bhagavan, Bhakti hai Abhiday, Prema Prayojan. And the Prayojan Acharya is Raghunath Das Goswami. He teaches the highest goal of all our endeavors and aspirations. So in all our endeavors and aspirations, the highest goal should be prema. Bhaktivinoda Thakur in his Jaiva Dharma describes how Raghunath Das Goswami's various works explain what is going on in the spiritual world. It's a very, very interesting explanation given by Bhaktivinoda Thakur in the Jaiva Dharma. He explains that most of the works of Raghunath Das Goswami are the activities of the loving exchanges what happen in the spiritual world. That are his works. So that's what Maharaj is stating here. It is very difficult to understand such explanations because we have the tendency of projecting our understanding of the material world onto the spiritual world. So these explanations of exchange of loving exchanges which happen at the pure spiritual platform, we don't have any experience of it in this world. Plus, we have a tendency of projecting that which is in the spiritual world to our experience in the material world. So this is our problem. Everything that is some or other related to eternity is very difficult to comprehend with our limited mind, which is programmed to perceiving the temporary world. So one of the reasons why we cannot comprehend the eternity is because of the limited mind, which is programmed only with respect to the temporary world. For example, when we think about eternity, we may imagine a static picture. To counter these problems, Raghunath Das Goswami succeeded in explaining the way in which love is an eternal dynamic state and that in the spiritual world, there is no boredom. Bhaktivinoda Thakur explains that especially in Manushiksha, Raghunath Das Goswami is teaching us how a person can enter into this kingdom of love of spiritual rasa. So there should not be just devotion, the bhakti rasa, which Bhakti Rasamrit Sindhu speaks. There is a commotion of in an ocean of devotion. There is a commotion in an ocean of devotion. Commotion means, there is a lot of activity happening. That is, rasa. Bhaktivinoda Thakur makes a unique, surprising, and even shocking statement. Now, please hear what Bhaktivinoda Thakur says in Jaiva Dharma. He says that Rupa Goswami, having described rasa and the nature of spiritual life, has not fully explained how to enter into it. Please try to understand, Maharaj explanation. Although Rupa Goswami is the Rasacharya and he has given his Rasa Shastras in the form of Bhakti Rasamrit Sindhu, Upadesh Amrit, Ujjwala Neelmani, but Bhaktivinoda Thakur is making a very, very profound and a shocking statement, as Maharaj is saying. He has described rasa and the nature of that spiritual love, but he has not explained how to enter into it. Just like, to give you a mundane example of this, we have no experience of spiritual rasa, but at least the material rasa is there. Now, two friends are relishing some nice, delicious dish. And when you see that, and you see the emotions and the exchanges happening while relishing it, we know that we get attracted to it. We get attracted to it. So this is spiritual, this is material rasa. So although we are experiencing, there is a rasa exchange happening, but we also would like to go in there and relish it. We want to like to relish it. So how to enter into that rasa, Rup Goswami has not explained. It is very, very strange statement because first of all, Rup Goswami is our Abhidheya Acharya, teacher of the way or the method. Secondly, if we study his Bhakti Rasamrit Sindhu and even Ujjwala Neelmani, we will see that there he explains in great detail the practice of sadhana. Now, for sadhakas, especially those who are practicing Krishna consciousness, it is very important as part of Bhakti Shastri, we study Bhakti Rasamrit Sindhu. And not only we study Bhakti Rasamrit Sindhu, the eastern part, that is the first 19 chapters of the summary study given by Srila Prabhupada. Later on, after we study that many times, the eastern division, we should study the southern division the Western Division and the Northern Division overall for many times. Ujjwal Neelmali exclusively discusses about Madhurya Ras, because among the four prominent rasas, Dasya, Sakya, Vatsalya, and Madhurya, Madhurya is the topmost. So, in the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, in the ocean of Bhakti Ras, when you dive very, very, very deep and go very deep in the ocean, now you know that in the ocean, when you go deep, you can find, pearls and very, very precious items. So when you very deep dive into this Bhakti Rasamrit Sindhu, then there is the manifestation of the Ujjwala Neelamani. The Neelamani is the gem and it is Ujjwala. So Jaya Jaya Ujjwala Rasa Sarva Rasa Sar Parakiya Rase Bhave Vrajete Prachar. So the Ujjwala Ras is the Madhuri Ras, the conjugal love. There is the wedded and the unwedded. The wedded is in Dwarka with Krishna and the queens. The unwedded is the Parakiya Ras with the gopis and Krishna, unwedded love, which is the highest. So devotees are not recommended to read Ujjwal Mani, but they should study for many, many years the Bhakti Rasamrit Sindhu. And only under a very expert spiritual master's guidance and the Shiksha Gurus, then one should study Ujjwal Mani. And he needs Adhikar also to study. So that's why I'm a little bit elaborating here about this point. Nevertheless, Bhaktivinoda Thakur makes the statement that Rupa Goswami has not explained how to enter rasa, whereas Raghunath Das Goswami has done so in his Manah Shiksha. So this is the unique contribution of Raghunath Das Goswami. Although the rasa is given in Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, now how to enter into it is given by our Prayojan Acharya. In my opinion, Maharaj is giving his opinion about it. In my opinion, the reason for this statement is that these sutras, Raghunath Das Goswami, in these sutras, Raghunath Das Goswami explained in a second and encrypted form the main obstacles that await us on this path. So what are these obstacles which are impeding my, entering into that spiritual rasa? That is what Manah Shiksha is dealing. And we have been discussing the gross obstacles from verse 4. And then more subtler, the 6 enemies, lust, anger, greed. And then Kutinati Pratishta Asha, which is now in the 7th verse. He explains the realm of spiritual affection or love and what is internally preventing us from developing this affection. So the realm of spiritual affection, the spiritual affection actually springs from the soul. Please remember this. The whole material world is bound tightly by affectionate ties. Mother to children and husband and wife. Sneha bandham idam jagat. When Diti, Kashyap Muni came back from his austerities, and immediately when he entered his house, Diti was in a very, Aditi, sorry, not Diti. Aditi was in a very morose mood because the Devtas had lost their post and they were absconding. They were incognito because Bali Maharaj had taken over the heavenly planets. And Kashyap Muni asked, what is the reason, and whether it is this, that, and then she mentioned that my children, the Devtas are their sons, Aditi's sons, are bereft of their post. Oh, Kashyap Muni said, this is all temporary, post and come. Most important is self-realization. But still, she could not, be satisfied. Then, Aho Balim He Vishnu, Sneha Bhandam Idam Jagat. Oh, see the power of Vishnu's Maya. Everyone is bound in this material by the ties of affection. Now, these affections, what we have, They are based on the body, especially the emotional aspect of the subtle body, the mind. Please remember the subtle body, the mind, these affections for family, for, because of the bodily connection. But when one transcends and comes to the spiritual platform and develops love for Krishna, then the same affection for the family members or for the whole world is in the form of compassion, and that is now springing from the spiritual platform. You should remember that it is coming from the spiritual platform. So affection, we cannot, live without affection, because that is the nature of the soul. But that affection should not be on the bodily platform, but on the spiritual platform. And Arjuna, why he went through those, trauma in the beginning of the first chapter, because of his affection towards his guru, towards his grandfather, towards all the relatives who are all assembled there. And that's why Krishna cut this affection by giving him transcendental knowledge. Yes, Dr. Archana Mataji.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu Dandavat Pranam. I'm sorry to disturb you in the middle of
No,
this
no,
day.
no,
Uh, what is the difference between affection and attachment as far as relationships are concerned?
yes, there is a connection. Affection, as I was mentioning, affection can spring up from the soul, and affection can come from the emotions, which is related to the mind. Affection and attachment are reciprocal. Why we have affection is because we have attachment. We have attachment. So that is why, right from the first verse of Manashiksha, Raghunath Das Goswami is explaining how to develop attachment to Guru, Goshte, Goshtaleshu, Sujana. So, how to develop spiritual affection, that is the teaching of Raghunath Das Goswami. Why there is, because there is affection, there is attachment, or attachment can lead to affection. So, both are reciprocal in that sense. Is it clear, Mataji?
Yes, I mean, if I have to develop affection towards Krishna, first I have to get attached myself to his Leela and everything, and based on that, I'll be able to develop affection towards God, right?
Yes, it is both ways. We have to develop attachment to the spiritual master, the holy dham, to the scriptures, to the deities. And then slowly, when it gets fully matured, then, then from that perspective, we can see everything in a right vision. So, in the sadhaka stage, in the beginning stages, yes, we have to develop attachment to Guru, Goshte, Goshtaleshu, Sujane, Bhusuragane, Swamantre, attachment to chanting the names, and then Radha and Krishna in the form of deities. So, like that, all this, helps us to develop our spiritual affection. I hope it is clear. Okay. So, the realm of spiritual affection or love. All those in Krishna consciousness want to experience spiritual love. When it is not achieved, sometimes people start going down to some other level, engaging in psychology or yoga or the like, and think those things are going to help them find love. So, no, this is a subtle deviation, even for practitioners of bhakti yoga. If we don't start experiencing this, then it can get perverted in the form of, through psychology, yoga, and all other things, some other level. Because the jiva, the soul, is love seeking. It is seeking love, and it doesn't find love in the real object, then it will find in some other things. The uniqueness of Manashiksha is that it explains our own psychology, which resists spiritual life and prevents us from attaining that very spiritual experience that has been promised to us. So, this is the uniqueness of Manashiksha. It goes into our own psychology, which is resisting that spiritual life where we want to experience that spiritual love. So this is what Raghunath Das Goswami is helping us to enter into that spiritual rasa. He's helping us by seeing these obstacles, eliminating these obstacles so that we can enter into that rasa. We are trying to understand this book as instructions to the mind. In accordance with the Sankhya philosophy, the mind is one of the sense organs called Antakarana. So the whole internal part is called as Antakaran, where the internal senses are there, includes the mind and the five subtle senses. Five subtle senses. The gross senses are eye. Eye is called as Akshi, and the Antakaran it is called as Chakshu. And this is called as Karana, where we hear the external ear. The internal ear in the Antakaran is called as Stotram. Stotram Chakshu Sparshanam Rasanam Granam Evacha. In the Bhagavad Gita, also 15th chapter, it is mentioned. We have five external sense organs that collect information from the outside world. The five external sense organs are, the eyes, the ears, the nose, the touch, and the tongue, taste. There is one internal sense organ that processes this information. However, this sense organ, Antakaran or Swanta, as Raghunath Das Goswami calls it in the first verse, has one amazing quality. It does not obey us. So the mind is like a dictator from within. It just dictates and we do according to his dictations. But whatever we dictate, the soul, it doesn't obey. That's why it's so difficult to control the mind. All other senses more or less obey us, but the mind will think what it wants to because it has a certain independence. On one hand, this is a blessing because the mind is given to us so that it can prove something that we even do not believe in. The mind is constantly proving us that we are God, even though deep down in ourselves we do not believe it. So, this is how the mind, and that's why it is said that the mind has God-like powers. Indriyana manaschashmi. In the Vibhuti Yoga, Krishna is saying, among the senses, I am the mind. And the mind has God-like powers. And we think we are God, but deep down, we know, we don't believe it, but still. And that's why God means enjoyer. And we are trying to enjoy this world because we are taking the position of God. But this same blessing is also a curse for us because we can't really change that programming. It's very difficult to change the programming. And what is Raghunath Das Goswami doing in the Manashiksha right from the first verse? Right from the first verse, he's trying to change the programming of the mind. He's trying to change the programming of the mind. Krishna says that depending on what the program in our mind is, we obtain our next body. So, where does Krishna say this? Anyone knows? Where does Krishna say this? That depending on the programming, we obtain a next body. Which verse in the Bhagavad Gita does Krishna explain this? Anyone? Anyone would like to try to answer this? One hand has been raised. Yes, Sunita Mataji.
Hare Krishna Dandavat Pranam Prabhuji.
Yes.
Prabhuji, the Bhagavad Gita verse Yam Yam Vapi Smaran Bhavan
Excellent.
Tyajante.
Yes. Excellent. Yam yam vapi smaran bhavam tejantante kalevaram tam tam evaiti kaunteya sada tad bhava bhavita smaran bhavam. So our emotions are related to the mind I was mentioning. And just to make a point very clear, that when you love someone, you always think about him. Sada tad bhava. Sada tad bhav. So, bhavita. So, you will attain that. You'll remember that. Hmm? That state. You will attain that state because you are remembering that. So, this is a very important principle and we should understand. It's only when you love someone, you can constantly remember him. So, you love material objects, you'll remember material objects. If you love purely Krishna, then you'll remember Krishna. At the time of death, we cannot tell our mind, think about Krishna. Even throughout our life, we cannot do it. The mind thinks what it wants to. The meaning of human life and the meaning of sadhana is to replace this program in the mind and teach the mind how to think of Krishna. This is the programming we should do to the mind. The whole chanting of the Hare Krishna mantra is to reprogram this mind to think always about Krishna. Smartavya satatam Vishnu, vismartavya najatuchit. There are basically two ways to do this. One way is to explain to the mind that this is good and it is necessary. The mind will reluctantly do what it has understood to be useful. So, how to do, to think about Krishna is to explain the mind, oh, this is good, it is necessary, it is important. So, this is how we do it, but the mind will reluctantly do. We can logically convince the mind. Therefore, the Shastras have their own logic, and generally, people are attracted to logic, various evidences, and philosophy. So, anyone can just think, you know, what sadhana is being expressed here. In sadhana, there are two divisions. Why we take up to Krishna consciousness? Because we are logically convinced about the philosophy. So, which kind of sadhana practice is this? Anyone? You know that in sadhana bhakti, there are two divisions. So, which kind of sadhana practice is this? Yes, Birendra Yadav Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna Prabhu Dhanotpam. Prabhu, it is Vaidhi sadhana.
Yes, it is Vaidhi sadhana. When someone proves to us in detail that God exists and that Krishna is God, we think, well, I will think a bit about that in my spare time. This is one way. It works to a certain extent, but Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says that this method is abala. It's not strong. Abala means deprived of power or having no power. The other way is to change the program in our mind is to somehow or other instill it with spiritual desire, with attachment, because the mind thinks of what it is attached. So we are coming to that same principle. That's why Raghunath Das Goswami, is instructing his mind. Aiswantar Chatubi Abiyache Dhritapada. I'm falling at your feet. Please become attached to Guru Goshte. So the other way of changing the program is by spiritual desire. Once one seed of spiritual desire, is planted in the heart, that desire with the practice of Vaidhi Sadhana Bhakti will blossom into rag, into an intense desire to attain Krishna. And then Raganuga Sadhana starts. We can understand very well what our mind is attached to. So sometimes it is important that we know what all the mind is attached to. And Maharaj is going to give a method to understand this. We can try to experiment by shutting yourself in a room for a day and say aloud any thought that crosses your mind. Record it and listen to it. Please do this exercise. It is very, very important for us to know where our mind's attachments are. So this is also one of the ways to, because the mind speaks in a very subtle voice and it whispers, because it is very close to our heart, it whispers. And then when we, without, speaking it out, we hear it and we fall trapped to the mind's voice and deviate. So the best way is when the mind speaks in its voice, we should immediately note it down, evaluate with our intelligence, or Maharaj is saying we should speak it loud, or we should speak to our confidential devotees whom we trust. This is what my mind is saying, and then they will evaluate and help us. So this is one method, and please try to experiment this. Or better yet, sit down and chant and listen to what the mind is thinking about. So when we start chanting, all the to-do things will start. And then we'll understand what the mind is all attached about. In Sanskrit, the word rag comes from the root ranj, which means to color. Ranjan, manoranjan, we say, na? The mind is colored in certain ways and rushes to where its attachment is. Chalo, let's go for some manoranjan, we say, na? Therefore, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu explained a form of spiritual practice of putting spiritual attachment in the mind. Now, please remember the background discussion is, that Raghunath Das Goswami has given us how to enter into rasa. That's why Maharaj is giving this background. The only problem is where to get spiritual attachment from. This attachment can only be obtained from someone who has it very strong in their heart. Therefore, the method of Raganuga sadhana is not meditation only on Krishna, but also meditation on those who have affection for Krishna. Affection for Krishna. Who have affection for Krishna. When we understand that what we need the same love that lies in the heart of pure associates of Krishna and nothing else, we start thinking about them. So this is where, I hope you are getting the explanation and the flow. With our sadhana practice, there is a seed of affection which is sown in the form of Bhakti Lata Beej. But when it grows by doing bhajan and when the anarthas are overcome, this blossoms and turns into affection now for the eternal associates. Because Raganuga Bhakti means to follow the Ragatmika Bhaktas. And especially our affection, we cannot, we might not be at that level. We can start thinking about the rasa which the gopis are relishing with Krishna, the friends are relishing with Krishna. But at least when we see pure devotees, how they have affection for Krishna, love for Krishna, we might become attached to them. So at least from there it should begin. And in the beginning stages also it is there. We come to Krishna consciousness because of the attachment we develop to the spiritual masters, to the Siksha gurus. And we start thinking about them. Thinking about them, we try to serve in the same way they serve. These attempts eventually lead to their bestowing this affection on us out of mercy. Affection is causeless. It is the result of their mercy, which naturally comes to those who are trying to follow in the footsteps of Krishna's great devotees. Krishna's great devotees. The problem in this world arises only from lack of love. It's only lack of love. That's the only problem everyone is facing and suffering. Nothing else. When Srila Prabhupada first met Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, and Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur ordered that you preach Krishna consciousness to the English-speaking Western world. And Prabhupada was following Gandhi that time and said, our country is, now under the British rule. We have to first get independence. And Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, with strong logic, he presented that Krishna consciousness is the real necessity of the humanity, and it cannot wait for any political changes or any other changes. So the only problem everyone in this world is suffering is because of lack of love. You might not have, a posh house or basic needs, but if you have love in the heart, you'll be satisfied. See the Goswamis, what they had loincloth, but they were absorbed in the, in the Krishna's pastimes, and they were always thinking and wandering in Braj, thinking about Gopi Bhava Rasamrita Lahari. Gopi Bhava Rasamrita Lahari. They were diving in the Rasamrita Lahari waves of the Gopi Bhavas and wandering in Braj because they had love and they did not have anything. They did not have any other problems in this world. Whether it is disease, old age, loneliness, the crimes that are committed, whether it is violence, cruelty, or spite, it is all the result of a single problem: lack of love. Beautifully, Maharaj has brought out this. It's lack of love. The Shastras, in particular Srimad Bhagavatam, describe that there is a place in God's creation where there is an abundance of love. This place is called Vraja Vrindavan, part of a place called Vaikunta, which means a place where there are no problems. Vaikunta, where there is no kunta. There are no prisons and no police. There are no means of cohesion and even no managers in the mundane sense. There are no managers to trouble you also, even in spiritual organizations, even in this world. Everything is done out of love and everything is so simple. The people there cooperate with each other and love each other because they all love Krishna. They all love Krishna. That's why they love each other. This is the society we are trying to recreate on earth to a certain degree. That's why Prabhupada said, a spiritual movement within the material world is an impossible preposition. It's an impossible thing. Because here everyone is having that lack of love, and the material atmosphere is completely opposite of the spiritual atmosphere. All desires other than the desire to love appear in our heart due to this lack of love. Our heart is empty, giving rise to desires that generally do not make anyone happy. That's why when Shaunakadi Rishi asked that what is the essence of all scriptures by which the Atma can be satisfied? Savai pumsam paro dharma yato bhakti radokshaje ahetuki apratiyata yenatma suprasidati. The Atma can be only satisfied by pure devotion to Krishna. People go crazy because of these desires, such as their desire for respect, honor, money, and so on. Now Maharaj is building the topic, Pratishta Asha. We are coming to that now. So people have these other desires because they lack that love, and that is perverted in the form of desire for respect, honor, and money. What do we actually need? Only love. When there is love, we need nothing else. We don't need pratishta, we don't need money, we don't need honor, we don't need respect. When there is no love, we need everything else. So when there is no love, we need all this honor, money, respect. And when we have everything else, it is still not enough. It is still not enough. If we have everything also, still not enough. And the classic example is here. Vamandev says that even if one is in possession of the entire world, it will still be not enough. One will start war with another universe and will try to conquer it. Just imagine what Vamandev is saying in the 8th canto to Bali Maharaj. That even if one possesses the entire planet, he will not be satisfied. Let's conquer another universe. Because the greed in the heart is insatiable. When there is a vacuum in the heart due to the absence of God, that vacuum sucks in everything, but it can't be filled because it is only God who can fill it. This desire to be near Krishna and love Krishna the way his devotees love him without any deception is the beginning and the foundation of Raganuga sadhana. So this desire to be near Krishna, love Krishna, the way the devotees love him, that is the Ragatmika Bhaktas, without any deceit. That is the beginning of Raganuga sadhana. Beautifully, Maharaj has brought out the definition of Raganuga sadhana. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu brought us the method to attaining the same love, completely pure and absolutely selfless. This is the potential we can develop. This is the potential we have, we can develop. It is not for nothing that the human form of life is called sadhana deha. It is because sadhana means a certain practice to which we can achieve the goal, sadhya. This human body is called as a sadhana deha. That means this body is meant for sadhana. It is meant for sadhana. This body is not meant for any other purpose except sadhana. The human form is called as a sadhana deha, by which we can attain sadhya. People in this world achieve amazing goals through practice. Some run very quickly, some jump very high, some swim very deep, some fly very high. They can mentally multiply and divide multiple digit numbers if they want to, or they can play chess and see 20 moves ahead. Using various methods of practice, we can develop incredible skills. So Maharaj is mentioning about sadhana, what people do in the outside world. They all have to do sadhana to attain any sadhya, become expert. The most amazing thing is that I can learn to love Krishna the way he is loved in Vrindavan. This is the most amazing ability which is given to us at birth, and the sadhana we are practicing is supposed to bring us to the state in which the potential that's built in us fully reveals complete, absolute, pure, and selfless love. So the highest ability is not to, see 20 moves ahead of chess, or, become very, deep in, go deep in swimming or any other skill. But the human form of birth is given to develop this sadhana where we can attain pure love. This is what we are looking for. Brahmande Brahmite Kono Bhagyavan Jeev. We have been wandering in different species of life, in different universes, only for that, heart's, soul's desire to love. And the real object of love is Krishna. What are people looking for in the material world? They are looking for Krishna. Because the ideal is sought after all the time. Everyone is looking for Krishna, in fact. The Shastra says that to that end, we should hear about Krishna with fear, with faith, and in a certain mood. On the pages of Srimad Bhagavatam, we can meet Krishna because it is non-different from Krishna himself. That's why in his writings and books, Bhaktivinoda Thakur has created a synthesis of these two paths. The first path, Vaidhi Sadhana Bhakti, is when we have faith in the Shastras and are convinced by their logic. So there are these two paths, Vaidhi Sadhana Bhakti, faith in Shastras, and there is logic. Thanks to this logic, we constantly make efforts in our spiritual practices, such as hearing Srimad Bhagavatam discourses. At some point, hearing the Shastras, we get a spark of attachment for Krishna. So hearing like this, slowly our attachment will awaken for Krishna. Bhaktivinoda Thakur speaks about this in a very interesting way in his Kalyana Kalpataru. Kalyana Kalpataru is his book where Bhaktivinoda Thakur has spoken in the form of songs. How the songs are systematically arranged in the form of Shraddha, Sadhu Sangha, Bhajan Kriya, Narth Nivritti, Nishta, Ruchi, Asakti, Bhava, and Prem. So in his Kalyan Karturu, what he says, Krishna eventually bestows the jewel of independence unto those persons who are attached to the path of rules and regulations, thereby allowing them entrance into the path of spontaneous loving service. So he bestows his mercy by first following the Vaidhi Sadhana Bhakti, and then he gives entrance into Raganuga Sadhana Bhakti. Being influenced by such spontaneity, remaining under the shelter of the mellows of unwedded love, that is Parakya Ras, the soul finally attains all the symptoms of ecstatic love for Krishna. So with Raga Bhakti only, you can ultimately come to these different rasas, Dasya, Sakya, Vatsalya, and Madhurya, and within Madhurya, the Parakya Ras. In other words, when we get attached to adherence to the rules of devotional service, beginning first of all with Shravanam, we obtain the jewel of freedom. We obtain the jewel of freedom. So, Tat Shrunu, it begins with all hearing. Vaidhi Sadhana Bhakti means you have to hear. In fact, the first 10-15 years, we should devote more and more of time on hearing and then slowly contemplating and then trying to realize what we have heard. We do this not because we have to, but because we want to. This precious jewel appears in our hearts and becomes the reason we take to the path of rag, attachment to Krishna. As a result, as Bhaktivinoda Thakur says, we attain the desire for this secret love of God. So the secret love of God is beginning of Raganuga Sadhana. Okay. Now, Maharaj has laid the whole foundational background to discuss Manashiksha verse 7. And the next theme is from paragraphs 15 to 32, the unchaste women dancing in the heart. So any questions up till now? Yes, Dr. Archana Mataji.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Dandavat Pranam. To love and to be loved, these are the two basic needs of any living being, maybe plant, animal, or a human kingdom.
Yeah, it's a soul's
So,
need.
so yeah. So between these two, to love is our eternal sthai bhav, right? But to
Yes.
be loved, we definitely do expect in return some. If I'm giving some affection or love to somebody, in return I should get something. So how appropriate that expectation is?
Now, this question is with respect to the object Krishna or any other objects. I want, in what context you are asking this question.
Definitely, at my stage, initial stage of bhakti, I'm expecting, I'm trying to see God in each and every person with the this thought process.
Okay, so
So,
let me give both the perspectives. First, let me explain when the real object of love is Krishna. Now, I'm making this statement, try to understand this. The moment we pose or how do I say, the moment we not getting the right term. Our real object of love is Krishna. And the moment we repose that object of love instead of Krishna to something else, we experience misery. We experience only misery. And because in this world, we have reposed our object of love to some other object, be it, gross, like the material objects, like, the matter, we are attached to mobile or attached to house, attached to, or the relationships. They are also at a material platform and a little subtle at the mental platform. And this object of love, which we have reposed, is not at all pure, because there is, hetu. There is expectation that I'm loving you. In exchange, I'm also expecting love. There is hetu, always there is, it is not nishkam at all. And that is why you will always experience that when you expect, and when your expectations are not met, you feel dejected. But when we repose that same love to Krishna, again, that's why that bhakti also has to be pure. If we go to Krishna with a desire for in return, that love will not fully satisfy the heart. But when it done in a nishkam bhava, then only we can experience that Krishna will also reciprocate when you approach him with material desires, so that we grow higher and higher, because Krishna is the real object of love. So when we love Krishna without any expectations, then we can start experiencing real satisfaction. And when that also in our dealings with devotees, we serve them without any expectations, then we can experience also that, Krishna's love in them. And this is the stage of the Madhyamadikari. Ishvaro tad adineshu balishu disatsapi prem maitri kripa upeksha sa karoti yah madhyama sah madhyama yah karoti sa madhyama. So this is how we have to understand that when we love someone, we expect that there is reciprocation. So, but when we repose that to any other object except Krishna, then it is always going to be there is always going to be misery. There is always going to be dissatisfaction. And that's why when we repose our love to Krishna, ahetuki apratihata yenatma suprasiddhi, because the soul is part and parcel of Krishna. The soul is, Krishna's amsha, and it has a natural, there is a natural loving reciprocation between the soul and the Supreme Soul. So then only there is real satisfaction. I hope this clarifies your question.
Yes, Prabhuji. I do understand. We are daily experiencing the misery.
Yes. Okay. Any other questions anyone has up till this point of the theme which we discussed? Okay, we have few more minutes. I'll just start with this next theme, which is a very interesting. Now, Maharaj has laid the whole foundation of discussion to come to this point of discussing verse 7. Pratishtasha društva sapachi ramani medri. When we have driven deceit out of our hearts, all the while there remains one last thing. So deceit, how to throw out, was spoken in Manah Shiksha 6. Even when deceit is thrown out, there remains one last thing. There is no cheating anymore, but still I want little something, and that is the chief subject matter of the 7th verse. There is no cheating anymore, but I want little something. And that little something is what? Some prestige, pratisthasha, some honor, some respect. Pratisthasha društva sapachi ramini me riti natet. Raghunath Das Goswami says, in my heart there is a dancer. Sapachi Ramani. Ramani means she's dancing. Ramani means a woman of easy virtue, a harlot. Moreover, she has special dietary preferences. Sapacha. Harlot is a prostitute, you know. Sapacha means she loves to cook dogs. And Drishtva means she's absolutely shameless. She's shameless. The name of that Drishtva Sapachi Ramani is Pratishta Asha. So this prostitute, who is a dog eater, who is dancing in your heart, what is her name? Her name is Pratishta Asha, the desire for respect, honor, and fame. And then he goes on saying, Katam sadhu premna sprishyati suchir tan nanumana. Think of yourself, my dear mind, whether prema, which is pure by nature, will touch your heart. If there is this untouchable woman dancing, pure premna, which is chaste, sadhu premna, will it touch? And I was giving the example, just like a chaste wife will not enter the house if the husband is associating with a prostitute. If the prostitute is there in the house, how she will enter? So similarly, how chaste, pure premna will enter the heart when this swapachi, a dog eater, is sitting in the heart. Perhaps the most interesting word here is drishtva, drishta, meaning that she's shameless. This actually means that all the anarthas have already gone away by virtue of the holy name, but the shameless one, the desire for respect is staying. The word used is very interesting. This one is staying back. The shameless one is not ready to go away. Bhaktivinoda Thakur explains the very last demon is when we want to be distinguished for our devotional service. A person may say, look how well I know the scriptures. I am a great preacher. So now I am going to save everyone by my preaching. In other words, when people start deeming themselves to be spiritual master or guru, this anartha is the root of all the other anarthas in accordance with the teachings of Sanatan Goswami and Hari Bhakti Vilas. So this Pratishta Asha. So according to Sanatan Goswami in the Hari Bhakti Vilas. So I'm just taking you to that verse of Sanatan Goswami in the Hari Bhakti Vilas. Pratishta Asha, the great obstacle in bhakti. This Bhaktivinoda Thakur also mentions in his work Bhaktiyaloka. The prayas for attaining pratishtha or fame is the lowest of all kinds of prayas. I was mentioning that when we have the desire for pratishtha, then to attain pratishtha, we endeavor. And we endeavor not in a right way, but with kutinati. We manipulate so that, and I'm just giving an example. Oh, there is a festival coming up, and there is a simple devotee who is not, he's very pure. It is better if he gives the katha, so that devotees will, experience nice bhakti ras. But I'm in a post. I'm not a good kathakar. And, but I have to maintain my position. So I manipulate and see that, this devotee doesn't give the katha here where a lot of devotees are going to come. I will send him to some other place, a small village somewhere where he can give katha. And I will give katha here so that, I can maintain my position. So this endeavor, what we do, it's for pratishtha. It's the lowest kind of prayas. Although it is the lowest, it is unavoidable for many. Many cannot avoid it. And that also should be given up by the simple process of devotional service. It should be given up, this Pratishta Asha. Therefore, Sanatana Goswami has stated in his Hari Bhakti Vilas, the concluding verse. So, the concluding verse, Sanatana Goswami, as Maharaj is explaining, so where he has concluded, Sarva Tyage Apya Aheyaya Sarva Anartha Bhuyascha Te Kurya Pratishta Vishtaya Yatnam Asparshena Varam. He's saying what? Even if one can give up all desires, Sarva Tyage Apya Aheyaya. Sarva Tyage, you give up all other desires. The desire for fame is very difficult to give up. Sarva Anartha you have given up. Pratishta Asha, Kurya Pratishta. The desire for fame is difficult to give up. This desire for fame, which is compared to stool, is the root of all anarthas. What is Bhaktivinoda Thakur saying? Pratishta Vishtaya, it's stool. And it is Sarva Anartha. It is the root of all anarthas. Therefore, one should carefully avoid touching this stool-like desire for fame. Stool-like desire for fame. Yatnam asparshena varam. This Pratishta Vishtaya. Pratishta is Vishta. We should endeavor a lot not to touch this desire in the form of Pratishta. How can Sadhu Premna touch when there is, this Ramani, Swapacha Ramani sitting in the heart? This instruction is extremely serious. The devotee should follow this exclusive duty with special care. Okay. So I'm just, giving this insight. A practicing devotee should pass his life in a natural occupation that is favorable to devotional service, and he should chant and remember the holy names with knowledge of his relationship with the Lord. So I've given, that Yatnam, Asparsham, So in the Manah Vaishnav K, the song sung by Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, Dushta Mana Tumi Kishera Vaishnav, Pratishtara Tara Nirjane Ghare, Tava Harinama Kevala Kaitav. Oh wicked mind, what kind of a Vaishnava do you think you are? Tumi Kishera Vaishnav, what kind of a Vaishnava? Your pretentious show of chanting the Lord Hari's name, Tava Harinam, in a solitary place, Nirjana Ghare, is only for the sake of attaining false prestige of worldly reputation. Pratishtara Tara, it is nothing but pure hypocrisy. Kevala Kaitav. So you sit in a secluded place and want to chant to show how advanced you are, so that people come and respect and speak about it. This is because of Kutinati, Kaitav, hypocrisy. Jadera Pratishta Shukera Vishta, Janona ki tha Mayara Vaibhav, Kanaka Kamini Divasayamini, Bhaviya ki kaj Anityaya Sabha. Such materialistic prestige, Jadera Pratishta, is as disgusting as the stool of a hog. Shukera Vishta. Do you not know that? Janona kita. It is only a mere illusion cast by the potency of Maya. Maya Vaibhav. What is the value of contemplating? Bhaviya ki kaj, day and night. Divasayamini, your plans are enjoying wealth and woman. Kanaka Kamini. All these things are only temporary. Anitya ei sabha. And then I have quoted this Pratishta Asha, which we have been discussing. So I'll stop here the discussion where Sanatana Goswami's teachings in the Hari Bhakti Vilas, we also saw that. So any questions or clarifications up till now? Okay, so we will stop now. Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. Srila Raghunath Das Goswami ki Jai. Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur ki Jai. Hare Krishna. Sri Manah Siksha ki Jai.